Welcome to Long Lost Friends. I'm Elizabeth Eve King.
And I'm Andrea Goyan. Elizabeth and I used to do comedy together in San Francisco back when we were 19.
But we lost touch.
Years later, we found each other and discovered
that I'd become a painter, a performer, a writer, a Pilates teacher, an animal lover, and a biologist.
Wait, I'm a painter, performer, writer, Pilates teacher, animal lover, and well, okay, I'm not a biologist, but we're
lost friends.
And we're both speculative fiction writers.
And my work has appeared in MetaStellar magazine.
MetaStellar, for those of you who don't know, is an online magazine that they publish science fiction, fantasy, and horror. There's a link below in the YouTube channel, and you can check it out. And please subscribe for books, stories, tips on writing, and more.
We're so happy to be once again talking to performance artist and research scientist, 3T Vakil. And 3T, I always call her the Jane Goodall of the rainforest. She sort of knows each tree individually, probably because she's raised it. She's going to talk to us about raising endemic, endangered trees. And I know also I talk about how you've been involved in other reforestation projects in, on the island.
Well, here we are right now. Earlier this year, I got a grant. After Hurricane Maria, we lost our tree nurseries. We lost thousands of seedlings and young saplings that were endangered, rare. That was the heartbreak of Hurricane Maria. And then in early part of this year, 2021, the Naples Botanical Garden in Florida approached me. The director had been a guest at our climate change conference 2 years previous. So that's how he came back this way to our project. And the Naples Botanical Garden gave us a grant to build a new tree nursery, which was just unbelievable news and the best this year that could have happened. I had an architect, David Hennebree, who designed a hurricane-proof, at least the base of the nursery, came out here in March, and with the help of two other volunteers, Diego and Axel, we built a new shade nursery, which kind of hooked onto
Can I interrupt you? How do you make it hurricane-proof?
Yes.
How do you make it?
Well, we've put it into the ground with concrete. It's got a foundation, and the 4x4s are braced in with the concrete, and then the actual structure itself has got K braces and everything. So and then it's just covered in cloth. So hopefully, come another hurricane, we take the cloth down, or we lose the cloth, but we don't lose the structure itself. Easier ways to keep the plants protected in that scenario as well. So having a new tree nursery was just like a gift from the gods, and it went straight into collection of seeds. And then I had a place that I had collected seeds in the COVID era, which was 2020 last year. And so I had the perfect place to start propagating rare trees. And then, hot on the heels of this grant from Naples Botanical Garden, we got another grant to survey for endangered endemic trees. And this was like something completely wow, it's really interesting that finally we're actually getting money to go out into the forest and do the things we love, because before we were doing these things because, well, we love to do them anyway, but suddenly we actually have money enough to be able to buy good soil, peat moss, rooting hormone, and we were out in the forest. And so the grant came from the Botanical Gardens Conservation International, which is a Kew Gardens based organization. They are also affiliated with the Global Tree Campaign, and the Franklinia Foundation, who are funding endangered endemic tree work around the world. So we are now within a global community of botanists and plant people working to find, first of all, rare endangered endemics, and to see, are they actually rare and endangered? Maybe they just haven't been looked for. Maybe they're just in inaccessible parts of forests, etc. So the trees that we're dealing with are currently on the critical or vulnerable status on the IUCN list. And in 3 years' time, we will hopefully be reworking whatever the status is currently. And maybe they'll come off the red list if we have found enough of them in our forest. So we started with Ravinia urbanae and Garcinia puetrocensis, which are two very rare trees, critically endangered. And we actually have found our target species, and we are now growing them in our nursery. The other thing that this has enabled me to do, getting that second grant, was to put together a team of botanists from Puerto Rico, botanist, taxonomist, biologist, a mycologist, a very comprehensive team, so that when we do go out into the forest, we're not just simply looking for 2 trees, we're actually surveying and making our entire species list as we go. So that's been a really such a fruitful labor, and being able to have the technology that we now have with using iNaturalist to be able to map our journeys of plants that we see. And I just feel very blessed right now to be working with such a great bunch of plant people on the island. That's really increased our visibility around the world, because we're working as a team. You know, again, we're going back to the groups that we were talking about earlier. Small groups can do a lot of things and get a lot of things done. And also, it inspires other people to maybe come out into the forest and do things like this. Because, you know, forests, let's face it, just like the coral reefs, forests are under threat. Let's make no bones about it. Everywhere you go in the world, there is forest under threat. So I feel very happy to be here in Puerto Rico. It's a small island, but working with trees, learning about forests, and, you know, inspiring people to love forests, inspiring them to learn about them, is a major part of working here. And again, to go back, diving into, it's not just about the science side of it, it's about the art and management of any particular biome. So, you know, science on its own can get very boring and dry. So, you know, touch of art, theater, music, dance, song, everything comes in. And of course, you know, you can't just have art and science, you need management as well. So learning skills to manage all of these things is of importance as well.
One thing I was really impressed, well, the first time I visited you, it was on an Earthwatch project. I was there because I was teaching science, running a science art program. And then we were there to learn about sustainable forestry, which was fascinating, you know, measuring the trees and stuff and seeing what should you take out, what should you leave. But what was also unique is that it's like you remove a tree, because yes, you need wood, but the forest was left untouched. And we also did studies on frogs, and it wasn't just, because so many projects are like, we're going to do trees, but yours is like, no, we're doing the whole biome. We're learning about how everything interacts, including the arts and all the creatures. And it was, I just find it a very, very special, magical project. And you always have such top scientists too.
Yeah. And that's a very important point that you made, Evie, that we're studying a biome. We're not studying one thing. And, you know, to be, you know, the biosphere is our home. And to learn about each biome is to take into regard a whole, a total system, as it were, a total system within another total system within the greater total system of biosphere, which is our home. And that's one thing that is another primary learning thing, is that we are part of our environment. We are not separate from it. We are in it. And everything that we do is part of and has an impact on the biosphere. It's not a separate thing. We're not going out there to save the world. We are part of that world. Whatever we do in it is going to matter. So I think it's just, it's a paradigm shift. And so studying many different things in this biome is really important, not just the trees, because everything is it's a whole ecosystem, a whole chain of things that depend on other things.
Yeah, in fact, it's interesting. Andrea and I lately, in a lot of our long lost talks, have been just mentioning the fact of plants have been evolving longer in a certain direction than people have been evolving, certainly, and they have all these connections and they are communicating with each other, and we're just like, oh, it's just like a rock. Whereas, like, no, I think we're going to find they're actually a lot more. We can't make our own food from sunlight. I mean, it's just, we don't think about the complexity and intellectual capacities completely different than our own of other creatures. And I think that's really kind of something that your whole project brings together too. It's like everything. It's not, we're not here making the science. And I think that's been sometimes a problem with science. I think that's why, the incorporation of science and art and everything can be so powerful.
I was going to say magical, but
okay, magical.
well,
Fine.
powerful, but I wouldn't say that, because I think it is, but it's both, And I was going to say, one of the really kind of interesting things with trees right now is, even I know throughout the country, like here in LA, there's a big tree project that people are trying to save the canopies, to try to bring the temperature down. I have a friend who's very involved trying to work to save the trees here. Not always very successfully, but they're really trying to get people to rethink how they're building and to build around trees instead of cutting everything down. It's really interesting.
Yeah.
I think that should become more. I think that should become more and more important as we go.
Yes.
And one thing about both where 3T lives and also all the projects that the Biosphere Group has done, like there's wastewater gardens where the sewage, goes into this garden that plants grow out of and pretty much use up all the pollutants and then get through another filter so that they can go back into the stream. And the whole thing is just this biological project.
Okay, and I'm going to say miracle.
But it is. It's like, wow, you're living. You're having
the group that
positive effect on the earth. Whereas most people, even if they're scientists, doing stuff, I still think, well, you're probably having a negative, effect on the planet, because most people do, just with all the stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas, seeing the wastewater gardens and all those projects are kind of amazing.
Yeah. So the umbrella name of this group of people who started projects in the 60s is called the Institute of Ecotechnics. There's a website you could go check out more. And many projects were started in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. This one in 83, where I'm at right now. But that is the idea that everything matters. Your kitchen matters, how you cook food matters, how you deal with your compost matters, how you deal with your toilet waste matters. How are you doing everything with your life that enhances, better shape than when you found it. And I think that's a really important
So I have,
way to live your life. To think
So-
about how everything beneficial, how can everything be beneficial for the land?
do you think that all of these things ultimately can be scalable? I think she's frozen. Well, there we go.
Yeah, yeah,
That's good.
I think they are within reason. I think that people have to learn new ways of living, either in communities. Isolated living is okay, but it doesn't help people to share resources and things like how do we treat wastewater? I think everything is scalable. Depends on how much want there is and how much desire there is to do things wisely. I think everything can be done wisely. It just, of course, we live in a society where money is king, and that makes a difference to a lot of people, and the hell with the environment. But we have to just keep working at it.
Yep. I was just rereading one of my favorite books, Island by Alex Huxley, which is it's the opposite of Brave New World. I guess it's his utopian society, but he's Huxley. So of course the utopian society is destroyed in the end, but his message is the fact that it could have ever existed, it's enough. It's enough to go on. And it's an island that there are birds trained to fly around the island, and they go, be here now, to remind you that be here now. But like, I always think of that then. I'm walking around, I think, okay, the parrot's telling me to be here now. So yeah, but I mean, I kind of felt like that when I first visited the project, is that, wow, everything matters. And usually people don't live like that. So it's very inspirational. So good on
and it's
you.
also thinking about a project. Johnny always says, a project is to project, to throw something into the future and then to throw it and run to catch up with it. So I think that is a good way to live. Think about what you're doing with your waste, with your recycling, with everything, and we don't have to be, tyrannical about things, but if we know why we do things, we don't have to feel obliged or like it's a duty or something, but that it's the good way to do something. There's it's more beneficial for everybody and everything, and myself included, if I do something this way rather than that way.
Right. So if you had one piece of advice you can give your younger self, what is it?
That's an interesting question. I think be bold, be bolder.
I think that's good.
I think I've been bold when I was younger, but have a bit more courage to do things and stick your head out a bit more. I feel like I was maybe as a youngster a little, on the sidelines here and there, and I could have spoken out a bit more or been a bit more forceful. Be bold. Do it. Go and do it. Whatever it is, be bold.
Okay, you've heard it here. Be bold.
Yeah.
I agree. And now, the best things we've learned this week. Well, I don't know if this is the best thing, but I like it. They started the discovery really among fairy wrens. They noticed that birds, when they're incubating their eggs, a lot of times they're singing, and it makes no sense because, you want to be quiet so predators don't find you. And they're discovering that birds in the egg are hearing and learning songs while they're still in the egg.
Wow.
Where did you say that was? Everywhere?
It's fairy wrens, and then they discovered it among penguins, and penguins, fairy wrens, and one other species, but they're thinking it may be kind of universal. The birds start actually learning when they're in the eggs, which is
Wow.
Wow.
interesting.
Well, I mean, they think some of that. I mean, they think humans hear. I mean, they hear in the womb. So
Yeah,
I guess all animals do if they have ears.
maybe. Well, sharks eat each other in the womb, so that's sort of different.
Yeah, sort of different.
Let's see, either learning to sing or consuming your sibling.
Mine is that I just ran across. My mother loved camels. She had a camel kind of fetish, which was good for us because we could give her camel things, which I have now inherited many, which I don't know what to do with because after she passed away, it was like, here's some camels back. But that in the Saudi desert in 2018, they found a bunch of camel and horse-like creatures that were carved into rock faces. And I think beyond the fact that they were camel and horse-like creatures that are 8,000 years old, it's also the fact that there are still things all over this planet that we haven't discovered. I think that's still amazing that those things could have been there for that long and they only just found them. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is. Your turn.
So the question was the best thing I've learned this week.
Yeah, or it could be weirdest.
Weirdest, funnest.
It's that I had my birthday this week and I did a little fundraiser, and I was so awed and so I did a fundraiser and I hit my goal, and the reason for the fundraiser was to continue on with or go towards tree work. And I'm always just awed that people really do care about trees. People really do want to help people, and you know, just constant sort of reinforcement of that notion that people do care. And even if people aren't in industries where they are doing what they want to do or something, they do care, and they make it known, and that's been the best thing I've learned about people this week.
Well, you have inspired so many people with all the people that have visited the Earth Watch and everything. And really, it's your place is an inspiration in so many ways, all the work you do. And the funness of it. It's not, I think, I can't imagine how many young people have probably visited you on earthwork projects and then gone into environmental sciences just because it's like, wow, opening that whole new world. So that's so cool. Amazing. And I want to thank you for being with us. And I want to thank Alex and Maria Korolov for putting this all together and editing us and directing us and putting up with us. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you. And thank you guys, everyone out there, for watching. And if you enjoyed our show today with 3T, please like it. And if you don't want to miss upcoming episodes, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.
And please check out the links 3T offers, because there's so much about a project that's amazing. Incredible. It will blow your mind.
Yeah, it's amazing. Thank you, 3T.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.